Imagine a hand reaching for bamboo in the darkness. Now, imagine that hand is the size of a manhole cover, each finger thick as a baseball bat, attached to an arm that could bench press a grizzly bear. This isn't fantasy. This isn't King Kong. 300,000 years ago, while our ancestors were still figuring out fire, a 10-foot-tall ape weighing 600 pounds stood up in the forests of China. If you looked it in the eye, you'd be staring at its chest. Its jaw could bite through your femur like you bite through a carrot. One casual backhand would literally separate your soul from your body. Earth's largest primate ever ruled the forests of Asia. They were bigger than gorillas, stronger than any ape alive today. They should have been unstoppable. But here's the thing that'll mess with your head. In all of human history, every myth, every legend, every ancient cave painting, there's not a single record of anyone ever seeing one alive. Because by the time Homo sapiens could tell stories, Gigantopithecus blacki had already been dead for 200,000 years. So, what the hell happened? How does something that massive, that powerful, that successful for millions of years just vanish? The answer is hidden in a handful of teeth sold as dragon bones in Chinese medicine shops. And what those teeth reveal about these giants will completely change how you think about survival, evolution, and why being the biggest, baddest beast on the block might actually be a death sentence. This is the story of Earth's largest ape, and trust me, the reality is stranger than any monster movie Hollywood could dream up. Southern China, 500,000 years ago. Before the sun touches the forest floor, something enormous shifts in the canopy's shadows. Not in the trees. This creature is far too massive for branches. A shape rises from the forest floor, 10 feet of muscle and orange-red fur, breathing steam into the humid morning air. She is Gigantopithecus blacki, the largest primate Earth has ever known, and she's hungry. Her massive hands, each the size of a dinner plate, brush dried leaves from her fur. 600 pounds of body mass requires serious calories, and she knows exactly where to find them. The bamboo grove calls, just 50 meters through the morning mist. She moves with surprising grace for something that could look a gorilla in the eye while sitting down. Her locomotion is deliberate weight, shifting from knuckles to feet, more orangutan than gorilla, but scaled up to impossible proportions. The forest knows she's awake. Smaller primates, ancestors of today's gibbons, scatter higher into trees she'll never climb. At her size, the ground is her only domain. Those massive molars, each the size of a human thumb, didn't evolve for delicate fruit picking in the canopy. They're built for grinding, crushing, processing the tons of vegetation she'll consume today. The morning routine never varies. First, check the territory markers, scratches on tree bark 8 feet up where no other creature can reach. Then, the slow journey to water. Her throat is parched from a night of digesting yesterday's feast of bamboo shoots and wild ginger roots. The stream runs clear and cold, and when she drinks, she takes her time. 15 long swallows, her massive jaw working like industrial machinery. In the water's reflection, amber eyes stare back, intelligent, patient, deeply aware. This isn't some mindless eating machine. Behind that pronounced sagittal crest, a brain processes complex social information, remembers fruiting seasons, maps every edible plant in a territory spanning 5 square kilometers. She's been walking these paths for 30 years, inheriting roots from her mother, who inherited them from hers. The bamboo grove erupts with cracking sounds like gunfire. She's found a fresh stand of calmest giganteus giant bamboo, the caviar of her world. Each stalk is thick as a human thigh, and she processes them with frightening efficiency. Those massive hands grip a bamboo culm and twist. The crack echoes through the forest. She peels away the hard outer layer with teeth that could crush bones, revealing the soft, nutrient-rich interior. This is what those enlarged molars were built for. Not the flesh-tearing of predators, but the patient grinding of cellulose. Each molar is ridged like a washboard, wearing down plant material that would defeat lesser digestive systems. She consumes 40 pounds in the first hour. Not because she's gluttonous, but because bamboo is surprisingly poor in nutrients. It's 99% water and fiber. To extract enough protein and calories to maintain her massive frame, she must process enormous quantities. Her jaw muscles, attached to that distinctive sagittal crest, generate 1,000 pounds of bite force. A modern human manages 162 pounds on a good day. Between bamboo stalks, she supplements. A termite mound presents itself, and she cracks it open with one casual swipe. Not for the termites, though she'll eat those too, but for the fungi growing in their carefully climate-controlled chambers. Her fingers, thick as sausages but surprisingly dexterous, pick out choice morsels. This is the forgotten truth about Gigantopithecus. They weren't simple bamboo-eating machines. They were sophisticated foragers with a varied diet. A rustle in the underbrush announces company. Another female, slightly smaller at only 500 pounds, approaches cautiously. They know each other, have shared this territory for years. The greeting is subtle. A soft grunt, a display of empty hands, permission to share the grove. There's no violence, no chest-beating dominance displays. That's Hollywood gorilla behavior. Gigantopithecus society runs on different rules, more orangutan than King Kong, despite what human imagination would later create. By midday, the heat drives her to the cooler depths of the forest. This is her kingdom. 5 square kilometers of prime subtropical forest that she knows better than you know your neighborhood. Every fruiting tree cataloged, every seasonal change memorized, every water source mapped in neural pathways laid down over decades. The boundary marking begins at a massive dipterocarp tree, its trunk wider than a car. She reaches up, way up, and drags her fingernails down the bark. The scratches start at 9 feet, impossible for any other creature to replicate. It's a signature that says, something enormous lives here. But territory isn't held through intimidation alone. At a mud wallow, she finds evidence of intrusion, knuckle prints too large to be anything but another Gigantopithecus. A male, judging by the size, the prints are 2 days old, heading toward her best fruiting grounds. This cannot stand. She follows the trail with the patience of a creature who measures life in decades, not days, through stands of wild banana, past limestone caves that smell of bat guano, into the disputed grove where ancient fig trees drop their bounty. And there he is. The male is magnificent and terrifying. 800 pounds, standing 11 feet when he rises to assess the threat. His canines, though blunt compared to other apes, are still the size of human thumbs. The sexual dimorphism is extreme. He's 40% larger than her, with a sagittal crest so pronounced it looks like he's wearing a mohawk made of bone. But this isn't a nature documentary where giants clash. The confrontation is almost anticlimactic. They circle each other, displaying size, grunting displeasure. He pounds the ground once a hollow boom that sends vibrations through the forest floor. She responds by casually snapping a bamboo stalk thick as a baseball bat. The message is clear. I'm not impressed. After 10 minutes of posturing, he retreats. Not from fear, but from calculation. The figs aren't worth the energy expenditure of actual combat. He'll find another grove. The forest is vast, and despite their size, Gigantopithecus populations are sparse. Maybe one individual per square kilometer. Loneliness is a bigger threat than competition. The nightmare begins with flowers. Beautiful, delicate bamboo flowers that signal catastrophe. Bamboo is peculiar. It can go 60 to 120 years without flowering. Then every plant of the same species blooms simultaneously and dies. For Gigantopithecus, whose diet is 60% bamboo, it's apocalypse in slow motion. She notices the changes in late afternoon. The bamboo stalks she fed on this morning are developing strange seed heads. By tomorrow, they'll be dead. By next month, entire groves will stand like skeletal reminders of former abundance. The flowering is synchronized across hundreds of kilometers, an evolutionary strategy bamboo uses to overwhelm seed predators. But for a specialist feeder, it's famine. Her mother lived through the last flowering, 60 years ago. The knowledge passed down through generations. When bamboo flowers, you adapt or die. Time to remember the emergency foods, the fallback options that taste terrible but keep you alive. She heads for the limestone cliffs, where tough, fibrous plants grow in crevices. These aren't food, so much as edible fiber like eating rope. But her massive molars can process them. She spends 3 hours grinding away at roots that would break human teeth, extracting just enough nutrition to offset the energy spent chewing. By evening, she's discovered what the smaller male already knew the fruit trees are producing. It's early, climate change early. But the figs don't lie. She gorges on the sticky sweetness, her teeth, despite their grinding specialization, struggling with the soft fruit. This is the price of specialization. Those magnificent molars, perfect for bamboo, are almost comically oversized for fruit. It's like using a sledgehammer to crack eggs. The sugar rush is intense after months of fibrous diet. But there's a dark side: cavities. Gigantopithecus teeth often show dental caries, evidence of fruit binges during bamboo crises. She doesn't know that each sweet fig is slowly destroying the very tools she needs to survive. Evolution didn't plan for bamboo die-offs, followed by fruit orgies. Evening settles like a warm blanket over the forest. She's joined by others now, a loose aggregation that forms at the best feeding sites. 2 younger females, possibly her daughters from years past, feed nearby. A juvenile male, not yet massive enough to be a threat, practices his intimidation, displays on a tree that doesn't care. This is the paradox of Gigantopithecus society. Possessed of strength that could literally tear arms from sockets, they're remarkably peaceful. No evidence of violence marks their bones. Unlike gorillas with their silverback dominance battles or chimpanzees with their coalition warfare, Gigantopithecus society seems to run on avoidance and respect. The juvenile makes the mistake of reaching for her pile of gathered fruits. Her response is swift but measured, a grunt, and a gentle but firm push that sends him tumbling. He weighs 200 pounds, but she moves him like a stuffed toy. The message is clear but not cruel. Find your own food. This is parenting, Gigantopithecus style. The young stay with mothers for years, learning the complex map of edible plants, the seasonal cycles, the 1,000 subtle skills needed to process difficult foods. She teaches by example, demonstrating how to strip bamboo efficiently, which bark contains medicine for stomach upset, where water pools in the dry season. As darkness approaches, they build night nests. Not in trees, they're far too massive, but on the ground, gathering branches and leaves into comfortable beds. Her nest is enormous, 6 feet across, engineered to support her weight without creating pressure points. It's architectural engineering using only forest debris and inherited knowledge. The forest floor isn't safe. Leopards hunt here, and tigers, and the massive stegodon elephants crash through at night. But at her size, she is the forest floor's apex resident. Nothing hunts an adult Gigantopithecus. The only predator that could challenge her won't evolve for another 400,000 years, and it will walk on 2 legs and carry sharp stones. The afternoon heat drives her deeper into the forest, following ancient paths worn smooth by generations of massive feet. She's searching for something specific: the jackfruit trees her grandmother showed her 40 years ago. In this heat, bamboo loses moisture too quickly. She needs the high sugar content of ripe fruit to maintain energy. The journey takes her through the territory's heart, past the limestone caves where her kind sometimes shelter during monsoons. The caves smell of generations, a musty blend of fur, vegetation, and the distinctive scent only Gigantopithecus produces. She pauses at the entrance, nostrils flaring. Fresh scent. Another female was here yesterday, possibly with young. The jackfruit grove is a disappointment. Climate change, though she couldn't name it, has disrupted fruiting patterns. Trees that should hang heavy with 100-pound fruits show only leaves. She samples bark, testing for the subtle sweetness that indicates hidden sap. Her incisors, small compared to her molars but still larger than a human's thumb, strip a section clean. The sap runs bitter. Another failed harvest. This is the creeping catastrophe her species faces. Not dramatic predation or volcanic extinction, but the slow shift of food sources. Each year, the bamboo groves shrink. The fruit trees produce less reliably. The forest itself retreats as grasslands expand. Her kind need 40 to 60 pounds of food daily. When that becomes 30 pounds, then 20, the math becomes fatal. She finds solace at a termite colony built around a rotting log. Her fingers, despite their thickness, work with surprising delicacy, extracting the pale insects. They're protein-rich, fatty, everything bamboo isn't. But there aren't enough termites in all of China to sustain a 600-pound ape. They're snacks, not meals. By late afternoon, exhaustion sets in, not physical, but metabolic. She's consumed 35 pounds of vegetation today, still 10 pounds short of optimal. Her body, magnificently adapted for processing bamboo, struggles with the mixed diet necessity now forces. It's like running a diesel engine on gasoline. It works, but poorly. The male appears at dusk, and this time, his intentions are different. He's not after territory, but something more primal. It's mating season, triggered by subtle changes in day length and temperature that her body responds to with ancient precision. He's magnificent in the failing light, 800 pounds of muscle and fur, with cheek pads that make his face seem even more massive. The sexual dimorphism is extreme, but unlike gorillas, where size means dominance, Gigantopithecus Courtship is surprisingly gentle. He brings gifts, fresh bamboo shoots from a grove she hasn't discovered, fruits from territories beyond her range. It's not conscious romance, but evolutionary strategy. Females choose mates who demonstrate resource access and knowledge. He's proving he can provide, even if she doesn't need provision. The courtship dance takes days. He follows at respectful distances, displaying strength by casually destroying things, snapping trees that would challenge human chainsaws, throwing boulders that weigh more than adult humans. But he never threatens her, never forces proximity. This is orangutan-style courtship, scaled up to giant proportions. When she finally accepts him, the mating is brief, almost anticlimactic after all the display. But the consequences will last years. If she conceives, she'll carry the infant for 9 months, nurse it for 4 years, teach it for another 6. A decade of investment for each offspring. At her breeding rate, 1 infant every 7 to 10 years, she might produce 4 offspring in a lifetime. Maybe 2 will survive to adulthood. The male disappears after mating, his genetic contribution complete. This isn't negligence, but natural pattern. Male Gigantopithecus are solitary wanderers, covering vast territories, spreading genes across populations. The females are the anchors, maintaining territories, preserving knowledge, raising young. She's pregnant by the season's end, though she won't know for months. Her body begins the exhausting process of building another giant from scratch, even as food becomes scarcer and the forest continues its slow retreat. 3 months into pregnancy, the world changes. Not dramatically, no asteroid, no supervolcano, just the relentless creep of grassland into forest. Each year, the tree line retreats a few meters. Each decade, another bamboo grove dies without replacement. The change is so slow that no individual notices, but the species feels it in their bones. She stands at the forest edge one morning, looking out at an alien landscape. Grassland stretches to the horizon, dotted with trees too sparse to sustain her kind. Out there, new predators hunt pack hunters adapted to open ground. New prey runs fast, agile, impossible for a 600-pound ape to catch. This is not her world. The dietary stress shows in her teeth. Increased wear from eating tougher, more fibrous plants. Cavities from desperate fruit binges. Her molars, those magnificent grinding machines, are wearing down faster than evolution anticipated. By the time her infant is weaned, she'll struggle to process enough food for both of them. Other Gigantopithecus are vanishing. The male who fathered her infant hasn't been scented in 2 months. The younger females have dispersed, searching for better territories that don't exist. She's increasingly alone in a shrinking world, the distances between individuals growing beyond the possibility of contact. Climate change, the Pleistocene's bitter gift, is accelerating. Monsoons arrive late or not at all. Dry seasons extend beyond memory. The subtropical paradise that birthed her species is dying, replaced by something harder, less forgiving. Animals adapted to grassland thrive. Forest specialists like her face extinction. She adapts as much as biology allows, eating bark, roots, anything with calories. Walking further each day, burning energy to find energy. Her pregnancy adds another layer of desperation. The fetus needs calcium for bones that will never reach full size, protein for muscles that will never reach full strength. By evening, she's traveled 8 kilometers, a marathon for a creature her size, and found barely enough food to maintain weight. Tomorrow, she'll walk farther, eat less, decline a little more. This is how extinction happens, not in dramatic death, but in the slow failure of births to exceed deaths. 200,000 years ago. Southern China. The forest is a memory now, existing only in isolated pockets surrounded by endless grassland. She is among the last, though she doesn't know it. Gigantopithecus blacki, Earth's largest primate, is about to exit the stage it dominated for 2 million years. Her infant died at 3 months malnutrition, making milk production impossible. She's alone now, truly alone. No scent marks from others, no distant calls, no footprints, but her own. The last of her kind in this region, possibly the last anywhere. At 40 years old, she's ancient for her species. Her teeth are worn to nubs, making feeding an hours-long agony. Her fur has thinned, no longer the magnificent orange-red coat of her youth, but patchy, gray, revealing skin marked by decades of forest living. She weighs 400 pounds now, down from her peak of 600. The physics that once made her invincible now make her vulnerable. She spends her days in a small grove of bamboo, the last stand in 50 square kilometers. It's not enough. She supplements with grass, though her digestive system rebels, with roots that her worn teeth can barely process, with anything that might contain calories. Strange creatures have appeared in recent years. Bipedal, walking upright, carrying pointed sticks and controlled fire. Homo erectus, though she has no name for them. They avoid her. She's still too large to hunt, but they compete for the same plants, the same territories. They burn forests to create grasslands, accelerating the change that's killing her kind. They're the future. She's the past. On her last day, she doesn't travel, doesn't forage, simply sits in the bamboo grove, too exhausted to continue. Her massive body, that evolutionary masterpiece of size and power, has become a prison. Too large to sustain on available food, too specialized to adapt, too slow to breed their way out of extinction. She dies quietly as evening falls, the last breath of Earth's greatest ape disappearing into the subtropical air. No witnesses, no memorial, no awareness that an entire branch of primate evolution has just ended. Homo erectus will find her bones years later, perhaps wondering at their size, never knowing they've discovered the final chapter of a 2 million year story. Within days, scavengers reduce her to bones. Within years, those bones fossilize. Within millennia, they're buried beneath sediment. She becomes a puzzle piece in humanity's attempt to understand its past. A molar sold in a Chinese medicine shop, a jawbone that sparks decades of debate, a mystery that reminds us that being biggest doesn't mean being best. Earth's largest primate is gone. In her place, smaller, smarter, more adaptable apes continue evolving. One of them will eventually dominate the planet, though not through size, but through intelligence. They'll dream of giants, create myths of huge apes, never knowing their fantasies once walked the same forests. The age of giants is over. The age of humans has begun.